Hey, what's up guys? It's Virginia, the Buckeye Gamer here, and I'm back with another video. So in this video, this is a topic that I thought was pretty interesting to talk about, and I'm actually going to be talking about two games in this video, but there's a reason why. So we're going to be talking about two of the best games to come out on the Nintendo Switch, according to ratings and reviews. We are going to be talking about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So, two amazing games to come out on the Switch. But the basic thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is my personal experience with both games, and why I decided in 2024 to go back to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild because of Tears of the Kingdom. So, before I get into that, though, just going to give you a quick backstory of the Nintendo Switch and how it won me over and everything. So I had really been keeping an eye on it ever since it first got announced with Codename NX. So I was watching every little bit of news that came out and patiently waiting for a release date and see what the system looked like. And then after that, I kind of decided, I thought maybe I would wait a little while, like maybe 6 months to a year before I got the Switch, because that's usually, in most cases now, there's been a few here that I haven't waited as long, but usually I'm 6 months to a year for a new console. So I went around the bush about that, and I finally came to the conclusion, you know what, I've got some money right now, let's just go ahead and get it. GameStop had a nice bundle where it had Breath of the Wild, of course the system, extra set of Joy-Cons, there were some other accessories too, and it was decent deal at the time. So my husband and I decided to order it, and we wait and wait and wait. And it seems like it was funny. We actually got the bundle in parts. So we would get the spare power cable, then we would get the spare Joy-Cons, and then we would get the game. We were getting everything except for the actual console, and it's like, well, I had this game sitting on my shelf. I'm like, well, I'll get to you eventually. So it took a couple of months to get everything, but then when we finally got the Switch, I was so excited, and I could not wait to pop in Breath of the Wild. That was the one and only game I had. Well, physical, I should say. I did download Snipper Clips and Snake Pass. Those are good games too, but getting off topic. So I pop in the game, and initially I was not impressed. It wasn't really so much the game mechanics, because I thought, it had decent mechanics. I just couldn't really understand it, if that makes any sense. So I did, make a good effort at it. I had maybe 20 hours into the game, trying to look at shrines and, figure out how the mechanics work and, the weapon system and everything. But then I dropped it for several years after that, obviously. And I didn't know if I would ever pick it up again. Now, it stayed in my collection, of course. I'm trying. I don't get rid of a ton of games. I do every now and again, but Breath of the Wild stayed in my collection all these years. So, fast forward to when Tears of the Kingdom was being announced, and at that time it was known as Breath of the Wild 2. And, I wasn't really impressed, because it looked to be like the exact same thing, and just, I don't know, it just looked too similar to me, and I figured I would have the same problems. Excuse me. Try not to sneeze here. But I figured I would have the same problems as I did in Breath of the Wild. So, and then we go up a little bit further here, and we finally get the actual official name, Tears of the Kingdom. We get the release date and everything, and I did contemplate pre-ordering it, which I did at the time. I did put down a $5 deposit at my nearest GameStop, but I didn't know if I was going to pick the game up. And then I get a phone call one evening from my local GameStop that they were doing a midnight release. And, thinking about it, and I talked to my husband, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'll figure out a way to enjoy the game and everything. And, that midnight launch was awesome. I don't think I've ever had more fun at a GameStop midnight launch before. I got to talk to a lot of people. We played games together, and just, it was like a nice little family reunion of sorts. So, once the midnight launch was over, I get the game. I install it, and I was just exhausted, so I didn't play it until the next day. But what did I think of Tears of the Kingdom? Initially, the same thing. Now, I would say it kind of gripped me a little bit more than Breath of the Wild did. And I think it's just because of those, the Sky Islands, like the Great Sky Islands, the tutorial section that you go through before the game really opens up. I just felt like there was more to it, like you had a lot more that you could work with. So I decided to keep going, and as of the making of this video, close to 200 hours later, I beat the main game. However, I still have a lot to do, and I would say Tears of the Kingdom did officially win me over. I would have to say this has been my favorite game of 2023. I'm still tinkering with it, trying to find the Koroks, finishing up some other side stuff because I really want 100% this game. So, after completing it and, thinking on, I still have Breath of the Wild sitting here. I'm like, you know what? I've got to give this another try. And I hear a lot of people saying, once you play Tears of the Kingdom, if you haven't played Breath of the Wild or you never finished it, it's not worth going back to. And I would actually argue against that. Because thanks to Tears of the Kingdom, I now have a better understanding of Breath of the Wild, and I am already making more progress than what I did in my initial playthrough. Like, it has opened up to me so much, like the game mechanics, the world, and, seeing the little Easter eggs that came up in Tears of the Kingdom for, Breath of the Wild. It's helping me to get a better grasp on the things that I didn't understand before. So, like the weapons breaking is still annoying, and, some of the shrines are a little more difficult, but I would say that I love Breath of the Wild now that I had a chance to play its sequel. And I would definitely say that if you haven't played either of these games, you could jump into either one, honestly. I probably would recommend Breath of the Wild first, just because it was the first game. It introduces you to the world of Hyrule through this perspective. But you could also be like me and pick up Tears of the Kingdom first. Now, granted, Tears of the Kingdom is a much larger game because you do have the depths and the Sky Islands, which they hyped up the Sky Islands, I think, a little bit too much. Because when you get up there, it's just like a handful of scattered islands with like 30 some odd shrines up there, and most of them aren't even mandatory. So, yeah, Sky Islands were a little disappointing. I was expecting a lot more, but the story, I would probably say the story in Tears of the Kingdom is a lot better because there seems to be, at least in my opinion, there's more depth to the story. However, overall, when you take into account the DLC and other things, I do think Breath of the Wild, in the larger scope of things, I think might be a little bit of a bigger game just because of the DLC. You know what? I wouldn't say bigger, but there's definitely a little more to it than what meets the eye. So again, like I said, I love both of these games dearly now. I do plan on 100%ing Tears of the Kingdom, but I give that game so much credit for me getting so much more enjoyment out of its predecessor. So I highly would recommend, if you have not played these games and you like open world, maybe you're not exactly a Zelda fan. I'm not a hardcore Zelda fan, but I love these games so much, and I believe if you're an open world game player, you definitely would love these. So that's just my take on it. You guys might feel totally different. If so, you can always leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. Do you prefer Tears of the Kingdom? Do you prefer Breath of the Wild? Did you play Tears of the Kingdom first, or did you do Breath of the Wild first? And if so, did either game influence your opinion on the other? So, Anyway, enough of my rambling. So as I always say, hope you like what you see. And if you do, go ahead and leave a like and comment down below and subscribe if you wish. And as always, remember, Jesus is real. He loves you. I love you too. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.